Hey everybody, welcome to Obscurities in Miniatures. It's Friday. It's almost Christmas, come to think of it. And I bring to you yet another obscurity in literature, and that is the Granblue Fantasy Graphic Archive. You may have noticed a theme in the last few months. I've just been on a bit of a kick with a lot of these phone app gacha game graphic collections. I've always been a fan of that style of game, and especially just with lots of characters, sprite-based artwork, I can pretty much guarantee you I either own a book on it or it's on my short list of things to get. Granblue's been around for a while. I mean, if you ever sit down and want to play it, which it actually is still playable, and it's in English, you gotta jump through a couple of hoops. It's quite archaic, but it's got some charm to it. And I mean, there was the anime, and within the last month or so, last few months, the PS Network had the Versus game on the PS Plus. So that was kind of a cool deal because I was playing that again. And I actually remembered my password after like a year and a half of forgetting what it was. So that was kind of cool to hop back into the game. I've never spent a cent on it, but I've always enjoyed it and enjoyed the art and enjoyed the world with its airships and floating islands. There's a lot to enjoy there. It's become a bit of a mishmash at this point, and what's cool about this book is you have a lot of the basic characters before they got, a bajillion different forms and costumes and new sprite work and upgrades of various sorts and uncapping and all of that. But you get to see them in their original form. And what's cool about this is we have both of their poses. We've got some rough sketches here. You have the actual character icons in the game, sprites, I should say. Early design work. You get a little bit of everything in these graphic archives. Also gives you the voice actors, gives you the rarity. I don't have many SS rares in the game after all these years, which is kind of sad. I have not had the best of luck over the years whenever they have like their, generous pulls. That's one thing is the game does throw lots of free rolls at you. So if you do want to actually try and sit down and play it. And I got to say, the community has always been quite helpful. But I love the fact that we get to see a lot of the early work. And I mean, even if you're not familiar with the game itself or the characters, there's just cool traditional fantasy archetypes on display here. One of the main artists, I can't remember the guy's name off the top of my head at the moment because I'm going to say it wrong, is also the main artist that was responsible for Final Fantasy IX and spent a lot of time with Square Enix. So if the artwork does look a little bit familiar to you, that might be why. But it's got all of the typical fantasy tropes. You've got all of your summer swimsuit skins of both the male and female varieties. I don't know if this has any of the idle stuff that came later. But, you've got some of the seasonal skins. You've got the artwork I thought was kind of cool for just all of the random characters that show up in various quests and stuff. Kind of cool. Villagers. Santa Claus. All of the various talking icons of characters. Even if you've never played the game, I think there's a lot of cool stuff just to be had to reference and look at. I know the guy's style always reminded me of the Tactics Ogre artist. They are different. They are not the same. Some of the various beginning classes. Both male and female type. That was the thing that always threw me, was you have Van as the main guy in the Versus game. But of course, I picked the female one because, see guys all day as it is. Some of the more advanced classes. Some of the funkier classes. But you also get a bunch of the spirits and summons or animas. I don't remember what they were called. So again, we get to see a lot of the designs of the big monsters. The albacore, which I think I still currently have equipped on one of my characters. In the summon section. Poseidon. Colossus. Good old giant angels. It's not a JRPG without crazy dragons and angels, obviously. Basic enemies. The various weapons that you get both just from regular rolls and from when you summon characters and their accompanying weapon. Some of these look familiar to me. Of all the various sorts. So much like the Final Fantasy XIV art books, there's some really cool stuff to be had in these, just in terms of interesting and exciting fantasy artwork. I don't even remember half these ships. Get into a bunch of the scenery. So there's a little bit of something for everybody in a book like this. And then for me, the real treat is always seeing the early design works and then nagging my kids to help me figure out what the artist was trying to write because I can't read it. I think this is the best part of the book. And if you're like me and you enjoy seeing like all the background stuff like this, because I think there is a real treasure trove of ideas. If I had any expertise or skill at sculpting, I absolutely would be trying my hand at some of these designs. There's some really neat stuff here. Interviews in the back, and I believe, well, I know this one didn't. A lot of these books actually have tickets or codes for, you know, free pulls. So if you do find these new, you usually have that in the back to treat you. I got some of these used. Now, this is number 1. This is number 7. There are tons of these books, but there's something I wanted to make a distinction about because people probably are familiar with the basic ones. Those are the most common to find. These extra works are not as common, but I have seen them come up much cheaper in the typical secondhand shops. Now, I got mine through Book Off a while ago. And funny enough, mine actually still had the codes in the back. I snipped it off. And they were still valid, which was even crazier. So, hey, I'll pay 800 yen for what was the cover price on this. 3,300 with the code intact. So the distinction between this extra works and the regular archives are the fact that this is just all of the design works, and this is not any finalized pieces of artwork. I love that fact. So you get a lot more of the background stuff, lots of unused concept artwork. I mean, there are some, like, you know, 95% finished pieces in here. You know, some of the just, I don't even know where they, I think these are like all on the website. Just random stuff. Yeah, some of these were definitely from the website. Icons and stuff. I mean, it's not to say that there isn't cool stuff there, but be aware. So if you do see some of these books, be aware that the extra works are going to be like this. I believe there's 8, and I don't know how the numbering works officially, but something to be aware of. But I think these are just as fun, if not for me, a little bit more interesting. Like, how many pages have we just had on the girls with the bikes? I don't even remember which character that is. Doesn't look familiar. Like, I don't have any of these cool characters. That's what I hate about these games. But again, you need, like, just the detail that's going into how this stuff is designed, and I don't think any of it actually shows up in the game, you know, that the player is going to really be aware of. This guy's like one of the Celestials or something. Again, neat stuff. Especially if you like that kind of design work. And why can't I zoom it out? There we go. We saw those pages. I wish there was more of the line art, though. So yeah, you can definitely find these, as I said, through a lot of the secondhand resellers, retailers. If you've got connections overseas, you might be able to find a good deal on them. I definitely feel like even if you pay full price, there's a lot of content to be had. This book is kind of thinner at 280 pages. The graphic archive that I showed you first, how many was that? 320. And I've got, like, here's the second one. How many pages is this one? I didn't even show you guys this one. Another 300. I want to say the first 3 are going to have the most of this kind of stuff, of just all of the actual official artwork. Along with like character Lancelot designs. So yeah, something different, something maybe not everybody's familiar with, and that is absolutely why we got to show it off as another obscurity in literature. So with that said, this has been High Lord Tamberlane with Obscurities in Miniature, saying thanks for watching, and see you back here soon. Bye-bye.